Being a royal sounds amazing. You get castles to live in, shiny crowns to wear, and you hold a lot of power. But being a king or queen doesn't always mean having a great ending. Sometimes royals meet their end in the strangest ways you could imagine. It's not just about brave fights or dying peacefully in bed. Imagine a throne that suddenly explodes, or a dessert that turns out to be a deadly surprise. There are even stories of monkeys causing chaos for royalty. Join us as we count down the top 11 most bizarre royal deaths in history. We'll rank each one from the least surprising to the most jaw-dropping. If you love unusual stories from the past, make sure to subscribe to Mysterious Anecdotes, where we dive into history's weird, dark, and unforgettable moments. Let's get started on this wild journey through time. Our story starts with William the Conqueror, a powerful leader who took over England in 1066. But just over 20 years later, in 1087, he faced his last battle, not against an enemy, but against something unexpected. A horse, an injury to his belly, and a body that became so swollen it ended up exploding. It all began when William was on a mission, raiding the French town of Mantes. The air was filled with smoke and chaos as he charged through the fiery streets. Suddenly his horse became startled. It reared back, throwing William off balance. He hit the hard iron pommel of his saddle, which caused a severe injury to his belly. Despite his strength and power, this injury was too much for William. Over time, his body began to swell and his health quickly worsened. The once great conqueror couldn't fight against this unexpected foe. In this strange twist of fate, it was not a rival army that defeated him, but the consequences of a simple accident leading to a strange and unfortunate end. The impact caused internal injuries, likely a ruptured intestine or bladder. He was taken to Rouen, where he languished in agony for weeks, slowly dying as infection and gangrene set in. When he finally died on September 9th, the sun blazed down, making the day feel even hotter. Nobody cared for his body right away. Instead, while officials argued about who should take his place, his body was left all alone. The nobles, who were once his closest allies, abandoned him in death. Thieves took advantage of the situation, stealing his belongings and valuable items. Even the servants who worked for him ran away, leaving the corpse to decay in the stifling heat. By the time the funeral took place in Caen, days later, his body had become unrecognizable. The heat had caused it to swell up, making it a terrible sight. Friends and family who came to say goodbye were shocked at how he looked. It wasn't just sad, it was something out of a nightmare. The stone sarcophagus they'd built for him was too small. It was supposed to be a final resting place, a dignified box made of heavy stone. But as the monks worked carefully to place him inside, they faced a problem. His abdomen had swollen during his illness, making it difficult to fit him into the snug, cold space. The monks pushed and pulled, trying to maneuver his body, but no matter how hard they tried, it wouldn't fit. Suddenly, with one last effort, the pressure became too much, and his abdomen burst open, spraying putrefied fluids and unleashing a stench so vile it emptied the cathedral. The sight was shocking, and the air was filled with a mix of disbelief and sadness. They were there to honor him, to prepare him for his journey into the afterlife, but now everything had taken an unexpected turn. With delicate hands, they began to clean up the chaos, feeling a mix of emotions, grief for the loss of their leader and the weight of the moment pressing down on them. This was not how they wanted to remember him. They gathered together, whispering prayers and reflections, hoping to better understand this strange and powerful moment of life and death. At number 10, we have William II, also known as William Rufus. In the year 1100, he was the King of England and loved to go hunting. One day he headed out to the New Forest for a deer hunt, but things took a tragic turn. Here's where things get really strange. The story goes that William was with one of his knights, Walter Tyrrell. In the midst of the hunt, William instructed Tyrrell to shoot at a deer. Tyrrell took aim, but something unexpected happened. His arrow struck a tree, ricocheted off the trunk, and hit William right in the chest. Shockingly, he died on the spot. While the incident was officially labelled an accident, the news stirred up gossip and rumours across the kingdom. Some thought that maybe someone wanted William dead. After all, he had enemies, and not everyone supported his reign. This surprising event left many wondering if it was truly just a terrible accident or if something more sinister had taken place. The mystery surrounding William II's death continues to spark imagination and debate even centuries later. At number 9 on our list is King Bela of Hungary. He had a tough lesson about thrones and how they can sometimes fail you. Bela was getting ready to take back his throne after a difficult time of fighting in the country. He hoped to bring peace, but fate had other plans. One day, as he sat down on his royal throne, it suddenly broke apart beneath him. This wasn't just a minor accident. The injuries he suffered from the fall were really serious. Sadly, he didn't survive for long after that. It's hard to imagine, but the very throne that was supposed to represent his power and status ended up being his downfall. In those medieval times, people often believed that such events had special meanings or were signs from God. Many of Bela's enemies saw the throne breaking as a message that he was no longer favored. They viewed it as a divine sign that he was not meant to be king anymore. So what can we learn from King Bela's story? It reminds us that even the strongest leaders can face unexpected challenges, and sometimes things we depend on can let us down. Even a simple chair can become a symbol of betrayal when things go wrong. At #8, we have a rather unusual story about King Charles VIII of France. This king met a rather unfortunate fate while heading to watch a tennis match, an event that was quite popular during his time. One day, as Charles walked through his grand chateau, he didn't pay attention to a low stone doorway. Sadly, he was a tall man, and when he walked straight through without ducking, he hit his head hard on the stone. This accident caused him to collapse right there on the ground. A few hours later, at around 2 p.m., he passed away due to internal bleeding from the injury. It's a tragic story that shows how quickly things can change, even for a king. It's interesting to think about how being tall, which is often seen as a sign of nobility, turned out to be a dangerous trait for Charles. This bizarre incident reminds us that even royals can have unexpected and unfortunate accidents. It certainly puts a new twist on the saying about a royal headache. What happens when you mix a lot of food with a whole lot of laughter? You get the strange story of King Martin of Aragon, who is famous for his unusual death. He was our #7 in odd historical deaths. King Martin had enjoyed a huge, delicious feast. After eating plenty, he started to feel really uncomfortable and had severe indigestion. While he was groaning in pain, his jester, the court clown known for making people laugh, told him a joke so funny that it made Martin laugh uncontrollably. Unfortunately, he laughed so hard that he just couldn't stop, and he suddenly died right there. This event is known as death by laughter, and it sounds almost unbelievable. Many medieval historians debate whether this story is completely true or just a funny tale that grew over time, but it's certainly a strange and memorable story that grabs our attention. It highlights how sometimes, even in laughter and joy, unexpected things can happen. This story is quite famous because it sounds like something you'd see in a cartoon. At number 6 on our list is King Adolf Frederick of Sweden, who sadly ate himself to death. This happened on Shrove Tuesday in the year 1771, a day when many people enjoy special treats before Lent. On that day, the king had a huge royal feast laid out for him. The menu was very fancy, featuring delicious foods like lobster, caviar, sauerkraut, boiled meats and champagne. But what really got him was the 14 servings of semla, which is a sweet roll served in warm milk. Imagine eating that much in one sitting. Unfortunately, after this enormous meal, the king experienced serious stomach issues and died that very night. The official reports simply stated death by digestive problems. Now, King Adolf Frederick is remembered in Sweden as the king who ate himself to death. It's a pretty unusual way to be remembered. In fact, there is even a special dessert day named after him where people indulge in semla rolls as a tribute to his infamous feast. At #5, we enter "You can't make this up" territory. In 1920, a surprising and tragic event happened in Greece involving King Alexander and a couple of monkeys. One day, as he was taking a stroll through the beautiful royal gardens, his pet dog got into a scuffle with a monkey. It was a wild scene, and King Alexander jumped in to break up the fight. However, in the chaos, he got bitten on the leg by a different monkey. At first it seemed like a minor injury, but the bite became infected. Unfortunately, Alexander developed a serious condition called sepsis, which is when the body has a dangerous reaction to an infection. Despite the doctor's best efforts to treat him, King Alexander's health worsened and he passed away a few weeks later. This unexpected event had a huge impact on Greek history. With King Alexander gone, the monarchy faced major challenges, and discussions about abolishing the monarchy gained strength. It's hard to believe that a fight between a dog and a monkey could lead to such significant changes in a country's future. All of this chaos started from what seemed like a silly pet altercation. Crown Prince Sado's death was more tragic than strange, but it earns a place at Hashfor for sheer horror. Sado struggled with mental illness, which sometimes caused him to have violent outbursts. Because of this, many people thought he was not fit to be a leader. His father, King Yongzhou, wanted to teach him a harsh lesson. One day, in a moment of anger, the king ordered Sado to climb into a wooden rice chest. This was not just a small chest, it was big enough for him to fit inside. Surprisingly, Sado did as he was told and got into the chest. Then the king had the chest sealed shut so that no one could open it. Sado was trapped inside the chest for 8 long days. During this time, he had no food and no water. He must have felt afraid and helpless, knowing that he couldn't escape. As the days passed, he grew weaker and weaker. Finally, after enduring such terrible suffering, he died inside that chest from either suffocation or starvation. This is a true account of royal punishment that turned into a royal horror. It serves as a reminder of how far power can go and the tragic outcomes that can come from it. The story of Crown Prince Sado is not just a tale of tragedy, it teaches us about the importance of compassion and mental health in leadership. At number 3 on our list, we dive into a creepy story from history known as bathroom horror. This tale is about King Edmund Ironside, who was famous for fighting against the Danish invasion in England. He was brave and strong, but his end was both embarrassing and terrifying. According to legend, while King Edmund was using a royal toilet, yes, a very fancy bathroom, something awful happened. An assassin or a sneaky killer hid under the toilet and stabbed him from underneath. Imagine that. He was attacked right when he thought he was safe. The story says he met his end on the toilet, which feels very strange for a king. We're not sure if this story is actually true or just a wild rumor from medieval times, but it's remembered as a shocking story about a king's demise. It's a dark twist on the idea of dying in a place where you should feel comfortable, giving new meaning to the expression dying where you sit. At number 2 on our list, we have Charles II of Navarre, also known as Charles the Bad. He was a king with a reputation for being ruthless and cunning, but his end was both bizarre and tragic. Charles was very ill and bedridden. In those days, doctors would sometimes soak a patient's bedsheets in alcohol to help with fevers. One night, a servant tried to keep him warm by wrapping him tightly in these alcohol-soaked sheets. But then disaster struck. The servant accidentally brought a candle too close, and the sheets caught fire instantly. Charles was unable to escape, and the flames quickly engulfed him. Despite the efforts of those nearby, he suffered terrible burns and died soon after. It was a shocking and gruesome end for a king who had survived so many political intrigues and battles. This story reminds us that sometimes the smallest mistake can have the most devastating consequences, even for a king. And at the top of the list is the most poetic and gruesome royal death of all time. Sigurd the Mighty fought bravely and emerged victorious. After winning, he took the head of his enemy and tied it to his saddle. This was a symbol of his triumph. As he rode home in triumph, the severed head's tooth scratched his leg. At first he didn't think much of it. Days passed, and what started as a little mark turned red and puffy. The infection spread, and he could hardly move. In weeks, the brave warrior lay in bed, struggling for breath. He was defeated not by sword, but by a corpse. He became not just a warrior in battle, but also a legend in the stories shared around the fires at night. From exploding furniture to monkey bites and dessert-induced doom, the fascinating and strange tales of royal deaths remind us that no one, no matter how rich, powerful, or crowned, is safe from the odd hand of fate. These stories show us that life can take unexpected turns, and even those with the highest titles can meet surprising ends. Which royal death surprised you the most? Was it the silly reason behind their end, or the shocking twist that fate had in store for them? We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can keep up with more strange, spooky, and forgotten tales from history. This has been Mysterious Anecdotes, where the past is never boring and every story has a twist.